somebody's bracket is messed up. I don't know who it is. Somebody's bracket is messed up. When you first get that bracket, oh, I know who's going to win. And everybody, my Final Four is, somebody's bracket is messed up. Because when Florida lost, oh, that did it for somebody. Somebody had Florida in their Final Four. Somebody probably had Florida winning the title. Let's talk about brackets being busted. Who are the top coaches left in the tournament? Who are the top players left in the top point guards? Who are the top point guards left in the tournament? Let's talk about all that and some more stuff on this episode of the Coach Cherry Show.
I say keep it a vibe. I'm ready now. Talking right now.
When you're trying to fill out the bracket, see, first of all, I don't know anybody that has seen every team in the bracket. You've seen every team in the bracket? No, you haven't. You didn't watch Siena play this year. You didn't watch Northern Iowa. You didn't watch North Dakota State. You didn't watch those teams. When you're filling out a bracket, it's like you got to go based off what you've seen. And I'm going to say this because I do very well in the brackets, not to brag or boast, but I do pretty well in the brackets every year. Go with your gut. Now, let me say this. Going with your gut, I'm talking about it really helps if you have some experience playing or coaching, or because you can kind of go with. See, sometimes when I watch the game, I see certain things that make me say, I don't know about that team right there. And just to let you know, yes, go back and look at the previous episode. My Final Four is still intact. Houston, Michigan, Michigan State, Arizona. All four teams are still dancing. So go with your gut. Now let's look at this bracket. They call it March Madness. Some stuff happens only in March. I look at some of these games. If these two teams played in January or February, December, it wouldn't even be a game like that. It wouldn't even be a game. Duke and Siena. Siena should have beat Duke, y'all. Yes, they should have. Yes, they should have. Siena should have beaten Duke. Siena had an 11-point lead at one point. At halftime, I think they were up 11. Jerry McNamara, Syracuse legend, won a national title with Carmelo Anthony, Hakeem Ward, Jim Boeheim, that whole group. Is the coach at Siena? Well, he was the coach at Siena. He's now the head coach at Syracuse, his alma mater. But we'll talk about that in a second. Jerry McNamara only played 5 people. I don't get that. You just played 5. I'm watching the game and I'm thinking, okay, at some point he's going to sub. And the announcers kept saying, he hasn't made a sub yet. The starters played the entire first half, all 20 minutes. Then we get into the second half. Now, here's the thing. If you didn't sub anybody in the first half, you're a little hesitant to sub in the second half. Why? Because especially if you're winning and you're getting ready to pull off one of the biggest upsets in NCAA tournament history, now you're a little hesitant because you feel like your team is in a rhythm. And if you put somebody in the second half that did not play in the first, they're not in any kind of flow. They have no feel for the game at all. So now as the game gets later, you're more and more hesitant to sub. Because you're winning and you feel like what you're doing is working. So you don't want to throw anything off. You're playing the number 1 team in the country and you're Siena and you're winning. Oh, Jerry McNamara is probably thinking, nah, I'm not messing this up. But in the first half, when you're up 11, get somebody in. When you got a double-digit lead, take somebody out. It doesn't have to be extended time. 2 or 3 minutes. Just take them out. Take them out the game. So they can have more of their legs for the second half. I don't understand how you can have a roster and you don't trust anybody on the bench to play, especially at the collegiate level where you can recruit. These are guys that you recruited. And you mean to tell me not one person on that bench can play? You can't trust anybody to go in and catch the ball? Nobody. You look down that bench, you don't see one player that can catch the ball. Wow. Now that at a Division I school, I don't get that at all, y'all. I don't. You got to explain that with me because I don't get that. And the guy that goes in, Let's say you only sub one person in. Boom. Put him in for your point guard. Let's say you just sit your point guard for 2 minutes. Your point guard comes back in. He gets the 2 guard. Your shooting guard. He sits for 2 minutes. Now that 6 man that you put in has played 4 minutes. You can take him out. You've just rested your backcourt. You stole a couple of minutes for each one. And that guy that you didn't really trust, he only played 4 minutes. But at least you rested them. I'm not saying make a wholesale sub. My goodness, you don't want to blow the lead. And don't sub 5 in, 5 out. And don't sub 3 or 4. I wouldn't even sub 2. If you feel like your bench is that thin, sub 1. But I thought that John Shire going to a zone, I think, changed the game. Siena looked like they struggled with that zone for a while. I think a combination of John Shire going zone and Siena getting tired is why Duke ended up winning. But look at the Sweet 16. Look at the Sweet 16. Y'all, there are no Cinderellas. And I'm going to tell you why there are no Cinderellas. Because of NIL and transfer portal. You got to stop picking Cinderellas, y'all. The NIL and the transfer portal have done away with that. Stop picking, I got to have me a 16 or 15 or 14 or 13 or 12. No, you got to leave that alone. Those days are over. I'm not saying it won't ever happen again. It's going to be rare. Look at your Sweet 16. Look at your Sweet 16. Duke. I'm sorry. Yeah, Duke, St. John. That's a 1-5 matchup. Who else you got? Michigan State, UConn. That's a 2-3 matchup. What else we got? Iowa, Nebraska, 9-4 matchup. Illinois, Houston, 2-3 matchup. Tennessee, Iowa State, 2-6 matchup. Texas, Alabama, and Michigan, 1-4 matchup. Texas, Purdue, 11-2 matchup. Let me get back to that. Arizona, Arkansas, 1-4 matchup. Hold on, Coach Cherry. Texas is an 11 seed. Yeah, but it's also the University of Texas. They do not count as a Cinderella. Texas? No, that's one of the biggest schools in the country. They got tons of athletes. They access resources, money. Texas, none of these schools. Iowa, no, these are high major, big time university. Nebraska, these aren't Cinderellas, not at all. Who else? There was another seed that I saw. Tennessee's a 60. Tell me one small school in the Sweet 16. Tell me a small school in the Sweet 16. You don't see one. Duke, St. John's, Michigan State, UConn, Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, Houston, Iowa State, Tennessee, Michigan, Alabama, Texas, Purdue, Arizona, Arkansas. You didn't hear one small school. Stop picking the small schools to go to the Sweet 16. Those days are over. They may win a game like High Point did. That's about it. And High Point, I think, was the only upset. Look at your first round. High Point was the only VCU beat Carolina, but VCU has tournament history with Shaka Smart in Final Four. VCU was consistently in the tournament. So that wasn't a major upset. High Point was it. That's the only. Utah State is a 9 seed. So that's not really, that was an 8-9 game. That's a toss-up. They beat Villanova. Not a major upset. Now that we're in the Sweet 16. My Final Four is still intact. Look at these games. Duke, St. John's. That's interesting. Because St. John's pressures the ball, and I'm still not sold on Caden Boozer yet as a point guard being comfortable. And I've said it before, I don't know how far they can go with Cam Boozer being the primary ball handler. I just don't see that working. I do have Duke in my Elite 8, so I do have them winning this game. I think St. John's is going to give them trouble. The only thing that concerns me with St. John's is they struggle to score. St. John's struggles to score, and Duke is excellent defensively. Patrick Gungba being back helps. Caleb Foster is the key. Without Caleb Foster, I just don't see Duke winning the national championship. If Duke would have come into this tournament fully healthy, I would have picked Duke to win it. I would have had Duke and Arizona in the championship game, and that would have been a tough decision, but I probably would have gone with Duke. But without Caleb Foster, I can't. But I think they beat St. John's, though. Tough game. Michigan State, UConn. That seems like a toss-up. That seems like a toss-up. I'm going to go Michigan. UConn seem like they have some struggles, and Jeremy Fears Jr., one of the top point guards in the country. I'm going Michigan State. Iowa, Nebraska. I don't know how many people had this matchup in the Sweet 16. I'm pretty sure everybody had Florida instead of Iowa. You may have picked Nebraska to beat Vanderbilt. You may have done that. I'm going to go Nebraska because Nebraska started the season off 20-0. Like at one point, Nebraska was a top 5 team in the country. No. And Fred Hoiberg, I think Fred Hoiberg is a good coach. I do. I think he's a really. So I'm going to go Nebraska because I think they have too much offensively. Illinois, Houston. Houston is tough, man. Those are grown men out there. Kelvin Sampson, one of the best coaches ever. He just needs a national championship. But he's so good. If he retired without one, he would still go down as one of the best coaches. That's how well respected he is. Illinois is very good offensively. It's going to be interesting to see how they execute against Houston. Because Houston they get after it, man. Or they get after it. Tennessee, Iowa State. I like Iowa State. If Joshua Jefferson comes back, Iowa State all day. If he's out, it's closer, but I still may give a slight edge to Iowa State. Michigan, Alabama. Aiden Holloway being out, unfortunately for Alabama, I think it may show up this game. Michigan, even with LJ Kaysen out, I think Michigan's still one of the best teams in the country. Texas, Purdue. I think this is where it comes to an end for Texas. I think they're competitive. Because see, Purdue is not going to wow you with anything. They're not overly athletic. They don't have a bunch of NBA prospects. Braden Smith's their best player. He's not even really an NBA prospect like that. So I think Texas can compete, but I think Purdue wins. Arizona, Arkansas. I like this matchup with Darius Acuff Jr. and Jaden Bradley. Jaden Bradley was player of the year in the Big 12 now, point guard. I coached against him in high school. How far can Acuff Jr. carry them? I think he's carried them. I think this is it, Sweet 16. I think great job of that Arkansas High Point game. You listen to me very carefully, and you listen to me very closely. The battle between Darius Acuff Jr. and Rob Martin, I didn't know who Rob Martin was, the point guard for High Point. I had no idea who he was. Everybody knew who he was after that game. He went at Acuff. Now, I know he's older. He's a senior, and Acuff is a freshman. Acuff is a lottery pick. And I ain't talking about 13 or 14. He's a top 10 pick. Locked. Rob Martin, after that game, at the bare minimum, needs to be on an NBA Summer League roster. Bare minimum. Rob Martin was bringing the ball up, and he did a little behind the back, like boom, boom. That's all I needed to see. Now, I didn't know how well he could shoot it, but he brought the ball up casually and went behind his back twice. It was a casual behind the back, like boom, boom. All right, let's run the offense. I saw that, and I said, oh, yeah, he's nice. He can handle it. I don't know anything else about his game. One thing I did know, I said, he can handle that basketball. Guys like him, their handle is so comfortable. They can pretty much get to any spot on the floor. It's just a matter of them making a play once they get there. But when you can handle the basketball like that, you can get anywhere you want to on the floor. Now it becomes a matter of, can you make a shot at that spot? Do you have multiple finishes at the basket? Do you have a pull-up? Do you have a three-point shot? Do you know how to make plays for other people? Because you can get to certain spots like Rob Martin was doing. Can I find an open teammate? A big, a shooter, a cutter to the basket? He threw a pass to the opposite side. I tell players, when you can find the opposite side of the floor, that's high-level basketball, y'all. Yeah, that's high-level basketball. Who are the top 5 coaches left in this tournament? Woo! Tricky. The top 5 coaches left in this tournament? I don't know, man. That's tough. Oh, you got, listen now. Listen. You got John Shire. You got Rick Pitino. You got Tom Izzo. You have Danny Hurley, and that's just in the East. That's just the East. You got those 4. John Shire is going to be a Hall of Famer. Those are Hall of Famers. Now, go down here to the South. You got Kelvin Sampson. Well, Coach Sherry, that's your 5 right there. Hold on, let me keep going. Let me go on over here to the Midwest. Okay, Michigan, Alabama, Tennessee, Iowa State. I wouldn't put any of them into that top 5. Texas and Purdue, Matt Painter, Sean Miller, no. Coach Cal. Tommy Lloyd for Arizona, not yet. So I think if you're naming the top 5 coaches left in the tournament, you have to leave one of these names off the list. Coach Cal, John Shire, Rick Pitino, Dan Hurley, Kelvin Sampson, Tom Izzo. Who are you leaving off that list? Some may say John Shire just because he doesn't have the body of work that those other guys have. But what I'm not asking about career. What I'm saying is right now, today, who are the top 5? Forget the resume. Who are the top 5 coaches now? I don't know who I'll leave off that list, y'all, because John Shire can coach my team any day. Ooh, who would I leave off of that list? My goodness. I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't know. I do not know. What Coach Cal is? Number 5 all time in Sweet 16 appearances? Everybody has a championship on that list except for Kelvin Sampson and John Shire. Man, I don't know. Y'all don't ask me that question. Who would I leave off the list? Wow. Who would I leave off the list? Wow. Y'all, I don't know. I honestly do not know. If I had to pick, my goodness. If you're forcing me, I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't know. Coach Cal, John Shire, Kelvin Sampson, Dan Hurley, Tom Izzo, Rick Pitino. Wow. If you're asking me to make a decision, I'm gonna say, and this is not a knock on it, all of these are Hall of Fame coaches. Right now, today, godly. Woo! I may leave off. How do you do this? Coach Cal? I don't know. I'm thinking of Coach Cal or Rick Pitino. I'm trying to decide between Cal and Pitino. I may leave Pitino off. I'm going to leave Pitino off. I know some of you might say so. I'm going to leave Rick Pitino off. Yeah. I'm going to leave Rick Pitino off. I'm leaving Rick Pitino off because John Shire has the best program in the country right now. I'm talking about coaches today. John Shire has the best program in the country right now. Dan Hurley, he's brought UConn, Jim Calhoun quietly had one of the greatest careers of all time. Quietly. Dan Hurley has UConn being extremely relevant. They could have had a 3-peat, y'all, last year. They barely lost to Florida. Tom Izzo, I don't know how Tom Izzo's still doing it at a high level. All his contemporaries, the Jim Boeheims and the Coach K's and the Roy Williams, they all said, we're done with this stuff. But Tom Izzo is still doing it at a high level. Kelvin Sampson, masterful coaching job. Masterful the way he gets those guys to defend and play so hard. They were in the national championship last year. And Coach Cal, nobody's putting pros out like Coach Cal. John Shire is starting to get there. But when you look at them NBA players, when you look at a Devin Booker, a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a De'Aaron Fox, a Tyrese Maxey, you look at the people that Coach Cal, now he's got Darius Acuff, Tyler Hero, Julius Randle, Anthony Davis. Nobody's putting pros out. Emmanuel Quickly. Malik Monk. Now, Coach Cal, yeah. I'm going to leave Rick Pitino off. I'm going to leave Rick Pitino off. Who are the top 5 point guards? I'm not talking about who's going to get drafted the highest. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in the college game. You had to pick a point guard to run your team the next game. Who are the top 5 point guards left in the tournament? Jeremy Fears at Michigan State. Kingston Flemings at Houston. Keaton Wagler at Illinois. LeBaron Philon Jr. at Alabama. Elliot Cadeau at Michigan. Braden Smith at Purdue. Darius Acuff Jr. at Arkansas. Jaden Bradley, Big 12 Player of the Year, Arizona. That's 8. You want me to pick 5? Point guard. I'm not talking about the NBA. We're not talking nothing about no mock draft week. Nothing. In the college game today, I would take Darius Acuff Jr. He's carrying Arkansas. You got to take Acuff. Braden Smith for Purdue is one of the top point guards in the country. I don't know where he'll get drafted, or even if he gets drafted. Acuff, Braden Smith. Wow. Kingston. See, the thing about Kingston Flemings, he's a high draft pick, but they have one of the best backcourts in the country. Milos Uzan, Emmanuel Sharp. Like, they have one of the best backcourts. So I'm not saying he's not nice, because I think he's nice. The NBA scouts love him. But I don't know how much he has to do, because he has 2 really good veteran guards, right? But see, Acuff doesn't have that. Acuff just hooping. But Flemings, that helps as a freshman. You got 2 veterans that were in the national championship last year playing on each side. Boy, that helps. That makes listen, man, that's a big difference. Braden Smith doesn't have that. Braden Smith doesn't have 2 high-level experienced guards playing right, but he didn't have that. Acuff doesn't have that. Jaden Bradley doesn't have that. So I'm going to leave Kingston Flemings off my top 5. Now, if you're asking me who would I take in the NBA draft, he's right there at the top. But that's not the question. We're talking about college. My five, I'm going to go Keaton Wagler, Illinois. Elliot Cadeau, Michigan. Jeremy Fears Jr., Michigan State. Braden Smith, Purdue. Darius Acuff Jr., Arkansas. I got to get Jaden Bradley on there. So I got to take somebody off. I got to get Bradley. I'm taking off Jeremy Fears Jr. or Elliot Cadeau. I'm going to take off. Gosh, I love Cadeau's game. I'm going to take off Cadeau. So my top 5 point guards in the tournament: Jaden Bradley, Darius Acuff Jr., Jeremy Fears Jr., Keaton Wagler. Who else did I say? Jaden Bradley, Darius Acuff Jr., Braden Smith, Jeremy Fears Jr., and Keaton Wagler. Those are my top 5 left in the tournament. So we'll see. I hope my Final Four stays intact. I have Arizona winning it all, so I hope they don't lose. But I don't think so. I think they're the best team in the country. The Charlotte Hornets are in 10th place. They're 1 game out of 9th, 1.5 out of 8th, and they're only 2 games out of 6th place. The Hornets are 2 games from being in the playoffs and avoiding the play-in. Who's in 6th place, Coach? They're the Atlanta Hawks. 9-1 their last 10 games. They're hot. But Charlotte's won 3 in a row. They have Sacramento on Tuesday night. It could be 4 in a row. There are only 11 games left. You know, when you look at the Hornets this year, they're 37-34, 3 games above 500. LaMelo Ball is an all-star level player. He is. You talk about talent and even his production this year. He's an all-star level player. My only thing with LaMelo, I think this is what's going to hurt him. I shouldn't say hurt him. This turnaround that Charlotte's having, I don't think LaMelo is going to get a lot of credit for it. What I'm hearing is it's Con Knueppel. And now you got to ask yourself, would LaMelo have played like this regardless? Would he have played like this regardless? I don't know. But it does seem like Con Knueppel has had a huge impact on the culture of the Charlotte Hornets. Because you can call it coincidence, you can call it whatever you want to. They just simply weren't playing like this until he got here. They weren't. They weren't playing like this until he got here. So I'm trying to get to the stats because I want to look at LaMelo Ball and look at what he's doing this year statistically. Okay, here we go. LaMelo Ball averaging 20 points per game, 7 assists, 5 rebounds. 20 points, 7 assists, 5. Shooting 37% from 3. Not bad at all. Con Knueppel shooting 43%. That's absolutely unreal. Brandon Miller shooting 39%. They got shooters, y'all. Kobe White shooting 36%. They have shooters on the team. But Con Knueppel seems to have changed. And I think when it's all said and done, Con Knueppel is going to get the credit. Now, LaMelo could have already matured. Maybe LaMelo was going to mature anyway this year. Maybe this was the year LaMelo Ball was going to mature. LaMelo Ball has played 61 games. LaMelo Ball has played 61 games. Maybe he was going to mature, but I'm telling you, when people look back on this turnaround for the Hornets, they're going to say it was Con Knueppel. It was Con Knueppel. LaMelo Ball hasn't played this many games since the 2021-2022 season when he played 75. This is the first time he's played over 50 games in 3 years. The last 3 years before this, 47 was the most he played. I don't know. I just hope they make the playoffs. I would love for them to grab that 6th seed so they don't have to even do the play-in. And to have an actual series, games at the Spectrum Center, oh my goodness, you're talking about an atmosphere. Ooh, 11 games left. There are 2 games out of 6 plays. Big news for Charlotte University. Now, Charlotteans call it UNCC or UNC Charlotte at the very least. I know the rebranding and it's Charlotte University now. In the athletic department, it says Charlotte across the jerseys. When you go to ESPN.com, it says Charlotte. But Charlotte has hired a new coach. Who have they hired, Coach Jerry? Wes Miller, who is a Charlotte guy. Wes Miller is a Charlotte guy. He is now the new head coach at Charlotte. Now, I will say this. I will say this. I thought Aaron Fern was given sort of a raw deal. In this day and age, you got to have NIL money, y'all. Why can't mid-majors be consistently good? Tell me a mid-major that's good consistently. What I'm saying is, tell me a mid-major that every year, you know how Duke is good every year in basketball? You know how Houston is good every year in basketball? Florida now with Toggle, UConn, who else? Michigan. I'm not saying they win the championship every year, but these teams are good every year. You see a lot of high majors that are able to do that. Name me one mid-major. And I ain't talking about Gonzaga. I guess Gonzaga is technically a mid-major. That might be the answer. They've played so well now, people don't really view them as a mid-major in basketball. Outside of Gonzaga, tell me another I'm talking about a mid-major. I ain't talking about that Gonzaga St. Mary's conference. I get it, y'all. Technically, I guess it is a mid-major conference. I got it. Outside of that conference, tell me a mid-major that's good every year in basketball. or just consistently good? Go. Tell me one. The Boise State, little San Jose State, who? Chicago State, Fairleigh Dickinson, who's UAB, who's good every year in basketball? Consistently. I don't know a mid-major that's. What can be done about that? Because no one seems to be able to do it. And maybe you say, Coach Cherry, it's impossible. Because high majors, especially now with the transfer portal, high majors are plucking from the mid majors. So maybe it can happen. I'm just curious about that. There's not one mid major. Wichita State was having a run for a little bit, but there's not one mid major that can be consistently good. Who was the coach at Wichita State when they were? I got that coach's name. When they used to be really good, he had them. They used to go to the tournament every year. Who was that coach? Greg Marshall. When Greg Marshall was there, they were good every year. They were good every year. Let's see. Basketball. Is Greg Marshall still coaching? He was the winningest coach in Wichita State. And Winthrop. That's right. Greg Marshall was doing a heck of a job. He's okay. 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 So I see what happened. But I don't know mid-majors that are consistently good. I don't know why that is. But Wes Miller being at Charlotte. And you got to remember now, Charlotte has been to a Final Four. I know, in the 70s. Cornbread Maxwell years ago. I got it. Bobby Lutz had a good run. Bobby Lutz took Charlotte to the NCAA tournament 5 times in 7 years. I remember that. Boy, that arena, Halton Arena, would be jumping when Bobby Lutz was. Think about how that sounds, y'all. Charlotte was in the NCAA tournament 5 times in 7 years. And one year, I think they got as high as an 11 seed. Like Bobby Lutz had them rocking. I think Wes Miller can get them back to that. Wes Miller was first of all, he's a Charlotte guy. Wes Miller played at Carolina. Strong basketball background. Wes Miller was at UNCG. Won the conference 4 times. Took UNCG to the NCAA tournament twice. His last 5 seasons at UNCG won no less than 20 games. I'd rather say it like this. His last 5 seasons at UNCG won more than 20 games each season. Winning. I'm talking about winning games here. He won more than 25 consecutive seasons. Goes to Cincinnati. Now, I know they didn't make the NCAA tournament, but he never had a losing season at Cincinnati, y'all. They didn't make the NCAA. I got it. But do the math. When you look at his last 5 seasons at UNC Greensboro, and then his 5 seasons at Cincinnati, the man hasn't had a losing season in a decade. I'm talking about winning games here. I said somebody scrolling on their phone, they didn't pay attention to what I was saying. I said he hasn't had a losing season in a decade. He's going to come to Charlotte and win basketball games. Watch. Wes Miller's going to come to Charlotte and win basketball. Okay. We'll see. He's going to win basketball games. I think it's a great hire for Charlotte. Again, I hated to see what happened to Aaron Fern because I felt like now here's what will happen. Wes will get the NIL money. I don't know how that stuff works out. Don't ask me. He's going to get it. Because Wes is bringing this aura of credibility goes a long way, y'all. And I'm not saying Aaron Fern didn't have it because I think he took over in a tough spot when Ron Sanchez left. And I thought he made the most of his opportunity. I wish they would have given him more NIL. But Wes comes in with a bigger brand. Flashier. He's got a successful track record. I just told you he hadn't lost in a decade. Watch, they're going to open up more resources for him. That's based off credibility. I'm just telling you what it is. I'm not saying it's fair or it's right. I'm just telling you what it is. Charlotte's going to become a winning program. Watch. I'm just telling you. You talking about West Miller? Charlotte's going to become a winning program. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Coach Cherry Show. As always, hit the like and subscribe button. If you're listening by audio, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Patreon, Amazon Podcast, Samsung Podcast, Apple. And if you're listening by audio, come to the YouTube page at Coach Cherry. Come to the YouTube page. Shorts are going up every day. Short videos are being posted every day. And there's a new episode of Coach Cherry Show every week. I really appreciate you guys following. I am a former college athlete. I'm a husband, father, former head basketball coach. And I love the Lord. I love the Lord with all my heart. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, signing off, Coach Cherry.
Plus talent, plus drive, so he knew I could. Yeah. Looking back, I probably could have scored more. Watching old film, look at the scoreboard. No regrets, cause now I know my encores help.